The absolute craziest BNR announcement just got released, and they have banned some crazy cards and unbanned some classics. We're going to start off with the most dangerous of the cards that are going to jail, starting with the One Ring. A card that probably should have been just banned, I don't know, like last year. The 4-mana legendary artifact, indestructible. When the One Ring enters the battlefield, you have protection from everything, and of course, you draw cards as you tap it to put burden counters on the card, and you draw, and then you take damage for all the burden counters. But here's the problem: they designed this card a little bit too much for Commander, because you can only have one ring. But in regular competitive Magic, whether it would be Modern or Legacy, you can have an unlimited number. Well, yeah, not unlimited. You can have 4 One Rings. So it's not just the One Ring. You play the One Ring, you replace the One Ring, and the burden counters can never really accumulate. There was a lot of ways they could have designed this card. Like, you can only have one in your deck. The burden counters go on you. Or something to that effect. This was probably the only card in modern MTG history that had a chance of getting restricted, and they said, no, we're not restricting this card. It's going to go straight to the dumpster. And at first, it was only being played in the big mana decks, but then it started going to control and then aggro. So like you have all archetypes across the board between Amulet and Tron and Control and the energy aggro deck. Then everyone's playing this thing. Unbelievable. So anyway, we finally banned this card. It should have been in the last BNR. Without a shadow of a doubt, they should have just banned this thing last time so that everyone weren't forced to pay an exorbitant amount of money for this thing. I mean, it was pushing way over $100 at the time. So anyway, the One Ring, banned. It's gone. Not even restricted. Okay, that's not the only thing that they banned, because we know energy is 35% of the winner's metagame, which is obscenely high. Probably higher than anything I have ever thought or heard of for the last 13 years that I've been playing Modern. So something's got to get chopped off. And I mean, I guess they lost the One Ring, although the deck was really strong even before they adopted the One Ring. It could have been anything. It could have been a Johnny. It could have been Guided Souls. It could have been Ocelot Pride. They went with Amped Raptor. Why? Because it's a 2-mana 2/1. It's basically Cascade for 2 mana, which might be a little bit much, but it's also an energy producer. All right, when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Then if you cast it from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, and you can cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value. I mean, so you can play a lot of 1-drops. You could actually just play nothing and just store the energy for something else later. So this is what they ended up getting rid of. To be honest, I think energy is mostly defined by the 1-drops, because most decks cannot play any good quality 1-drops, and they've got a lot of them. They've got Ragavan, they got Ocelot Pride, they got Guided Souls. So they have 3 premium 1-drops. That turn 1 Guided Souls into that Ajani, and then attack for 3. That's a lot of life, that's a lot of energy, and that's a lot of power. I think those are still going to be super explosive starts. But anyway, they got to chop something off. They chopped this thing off. Amped Raptor went to jail. In jail it is. Varg is like, I have no idea what's happening as I don't play Magic, but I'm here to watch Nikachu talk about. Yes, hear me rant about this They banned a lot of cards and they unbanned a lot of cards. So here's the deal. Energy is the only aggro deck in the format. The only genuine aggro deck. That's why it's really overcompensating for everything. So maybe if there are new super aggro strategies, they can compete with the energy strategy, as we are going to talk about later, because boy, oh boy, did they opened the floodgates. I won't get into it right now, but we will. So this is not the only card that they banned. They also cleaned up Gigantha. So this was a big deal in Pioneer. It did get banned in Pioneer because every deck was a Gigantha deck in Pioneer. I honestly don't see a huge big deal about this card. It's literally a 5-mana vanilla 5/5. Yeah, you can tap to add this for mana. That's sometimes relevant. 90% of the time, it's not. you just have a free 5/5 vanilla creature in your sideboard. And it wasn't even that big of a deal in Modern. Like, yeah, Energy played it. Energy is 35% of the metagame, so you could say, like, oh, yeah, okay, there's at least 35% of the meta is Gigantha decks, but, like, I don't know. If you ban this companion, why aren't we just banning the rest? Like, at least Kahira, which is a very good card when it is played appropriately in the elemental decks, in the blue-white control decks. You put Kahira back to your hand, use Solitude basically for free, has synergy with Solitude and Omnath. I think Kahira, let's get Kahira on the board. I think Kahira is above and beyond way better than Gigantha is. And while I know Gigantha is seen in way more decks, it's basically saying that Companion's a problem. This extra, even though it is a blank 5/5 for 8 mana, because you have to pay 3 to put in your hand, then spend 5 to put on the battlefield. If it's enough of a problem to be banned, I don't know why we're just not getting rid of the rest of them. But whatever, they wanted to ban the Gigantha, so Gigantha is totally banned. All right. Next up, we have now. Here's the exciting part. They've unbanned a bunch of cards. A million cards, starting with Mox Opal. To all the Mox Opal fam out there. The 0-mana legendary, the Mox legendary artifact with Metalcraft. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. Now, in my opinion, I think this is insane.
No, God, please. No.
I think this is crazy. Like, literally nuts. Oh, John says, Gigantha was just too free to run in too many decks. Like, yeah, it is, but it's still like a 5-mana clunker, at least from my perspective. So we got Extreme. I sold my Mox Opal back in February. I was crying all day. You gotta be kidding me. You'd be like, what are the odds of Mox Opal getting unbanned? Well, it was greater than 0, I suppose. I would have never put this on my bingo card to be unbanned at all. And why they're doing this, like, what? They're doing it for nostalgia reasons. They're like, what are some old... How can we make Modern look like the good old days? The good old days with Mox Opal were awful. They were heinous. Like, there was a complete crap show. Well, we got classics like Lantern Control, where you get to do nothing. We have Krark Clan Ironworks. So, like, yeah, we have Lantern Control. These are the all-star Mox Opal decks. Lantern of Insight. Each player plays the top card of their library revealed, and you just Codex Shredder all the good stuff into the graveyard and leave your opponent with a bunch of crap. The most life-sucking archetype ever to exist. Then we have Krark Clan Ironworks. The super over-the-top mana and also redundant artifact combo deck that can keep recycling artifacts from the graveyard. Like, that wasn't really a fun deck to play against either. Huh? Yeah, KCI still been. I'm just letting everyone know and feel what Mox Opal represented at every step, every era of its existence. Not only that, there was what? The Cheerios deck? SRAM. Let's get SRAM up here. SRAM Senior Artificer. Now this honestly wasn't a good deck, but if you didn't have interaction, then you just died on the spot. It was potentially a turn 2 deck where you play 0 mana equipment, draw your entire deck, and then kill your opponent with Grape Shot. What other all-stars are there? I mean, it eventually got banned because of Urza. Good old Urza, High Lord Artificer, finally made that deck go over the top and kick the bucket. Oh, let's not forget about Affinity. Where's Affinity? Let's get Mem Knight on the over here. Oh, also, we got Hammer Time, another deck that tries to deploy. Ooh, it's not Hammer, Colossus Hammer. Show me every card that's called Hammer. We have Colossus Hammer. I mean, if you're not getting hit by a hammer by turn 2, then definitely by turn 3. This is a deck. Every single Mox Opal deck is just basically a turn ahead of you and just smashes you really hard before you can even get the game going. Now, the idea is that, well, we got free mana cards now. We got Force of Negation, and we have Endurance, and we have Force of Vigor, and we have like free ways to interact before our opponent can like go way over the top. We got Solitude, hey, don't get me wrong, Solitude, big help versus these decks. But it's still relatively free to push this stuff. Not to mention, there's some things Solitude just can't hit. I mean, they've got those new, what do we have? The turtle, what is this? I don't think it's called Turtle. They got that new Ward 4 creature. No, it's not called Turtle. It is a picture of a turtle on it. Can't remember. There's that new affinity creature that has Ward 4. Oh, the Cannoneer. That's what it is. Cannoneer? Boom! Kappa Cannoneer with Improvise. Your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1. Has Ward 4. Good luck, Solitude. Because guess what? You probably can't get rid of this thing. And it gets really big, super fast, and out of control. We got Boulder, who's giving us, we traded the One Ring for Mox Opal. Basically, instead of the game being really slow and dragged out, now the games will be over insanely quickly. 1,000,000% quickly. Yeah, this is the Cappy Cannoneer. You're happy that the Unbanned Opal? I think a danger! I think a danger for the entire history of Modern, and I don't think it's going to be any less danger today. Kappa Cannoneer about to be meta. Kappa, you invest in your Kappa Cannoneers. Definitely somebody's going to be playing with this card. I can't tell exactly what the hell is going to rise to the top. It could be anything. Like, the cards that they unbanned open a huge range of possibilities. But they're all heinous decks! All of them. They're all awful. They're all awful and aggro and fast. You know, Modern used to have a rule called, like, the turn 3 rule. Like, you're not losing by turn 3, or you're not effectively lost by turn 3. And between Mox Opal and some other cards we're going to look at, they're basically breaking that rule as if it didn't exist. They're like, you know what? Modern doesn't need that rule. Screw it. Kyle Driver, thanks so much for your super chat. Hope you are well, sir. Been a minute since I caught a live. Welcome. Yeah, I didn't have a live in the morning because I've been traveling. So this is our show. This is my show to compensate for the show I missed in the morning. I lost to Affinity pre-Mox Opal Band. I lost turn 3 regularly. It's terrible. Yeah, you're gonna expect. Be prepared for Affinity. Affinity's gonna be back. Oh man, the Affinity players. They're just drooling over this thing. And that, from what I hear, they're already like $200. I don't know where, though. I don't know if that was like Card Market or TCG Player. I'm sure it's skyrocketing. It needs a reprint badly. And I don't even know if it's even around the corner. And it's 10:16 in the morning for you. It's good for somebody. Cannoneer doesn't even care about Mox Opal because you have to tap it anyway for Improvise. No, but Mox Opal can help you cast other cards that can help you cast the Cannoneer afterwards, which can help. Yeah, Mox Opal sees Commander play, and it's still over $100. Yep, they banned Mox Opal a long time ago. Price didn't collapse. Because Commander players, they still want a Mox. Look, they can't play with Mox Sapphire or Mox Ruby, Mox Jet. Mox Opal is perfectly fine. In fact, Mox Opal is better than all those cards combined. Because this one does add 1 mana of any color. And of course, in Commander, you only need one of these cards and none other. So anyway, Mox Opal is back. I think this is a mistake. I think this is a brutal mistake. Not to mention, they're going to stick to the BNR announcements once every 4 months. So if Modern gets solved in a month and it's all a bunch of heinous artifact decks, we're stuck with it for quite a while. You know, it was a very funny thing in the BNR announcement. They're like, because of Modern Horizon cards, we think that the Mox Opal decks will be kept in check. Except Force of Vigor and Collector Oof, which were printed in Modern Horizons 1, was printed before Mox Opal got banned. So Mox Opal got OP even in an era where the Force, the Green Force, and Collector Oof existed. Now, are there new threats? Yes, there is now Meltdown. We've got Meltdown now, and we have Wrath of the Skies. Is this enough? This is turn 2. If you're on the draw with a Wrath of the Skies deck, honestly, I think you're too late. I don't know if you're going to be there in time. Meltdown, yeah, I think you're going to be there in time. You just need to pay 1 red and boom, everything's going to get blown up. But I don't know if Wrath of the Skies is going to cut the cheese there. I don't know if it's enough. When Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus was unbanned, Mox Opal was sick. Oh yeah, Mox Opal, basically the new Mox, the new card. The old card that feels like a new card. My old friend used to play Affinity years ago. I don't know, maybe they're trying to appease all the people that basically left. So, I mean, everyone can dust off their Affinity deck. Everyone can dust off their Lantern Control. Can dust off your Cheerios. There's going to be new... I have no doubt that Mox Opal is actually going to breed a bunch of very unique new archetypes that we have never seen before. Or it's going to completely power creep the or Lantern Control is going to have like a whole new breath of life that it never had in the first place. Because remember, you can find this. You can find Mox Opal off of Urza Saga. So now Urza Saga is much more powerful. You can go turn 1 Urza Saga, Mox Opal, a few other artifacts. So then we have Urza Saga. There's going to be more turn 1 Urza Sagas than ever before. Turn 1 Urza Saga. We got Mox Opal into what's it called? Urza's Bauble into some other random artifact. Tap for mana, play something. Then on turn 2, already start tapping your Urza Saga to make tokens. So it's more easier than ever before to be making tokens with this thing. And then, of course, it's going to crack on turn 3 and then really go over the top of your opponents. People are discussing how energy players will replace the 4-mana slot and the amped Raptor slot with Splinter Twin combo. Ooh, maybe. Maybe, because there's that white card, right? There's like basically like a white Pestermite of some sort. Not Pestermite, but when it enters the battlefield, untap all your creatures, and then so that is a potential Splinter Twin combo. That is sick, actually. Really great idea. But we're gonna get to that. Don't worry. We haven't reached Twin yet. Spoiler alert. Spoiler. Okay. Mox Opal is unbanned, but that's not the only thing that they've unbanned. They've also unbanned Green Sun Zenith, a card that I frankly never thought was worth being on the ban list in the first place. People said, you can't unban Green Sun Zenith, it's too good for Amulet Titan. Amulet Titan is broken anyway. Like, and I really don't see how this makes Amulet Titan that much more broken. It's a green X sorcery. Search your library for a green creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Then shuffle a Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. Like, what is the big difference between Green Sun Zenith and Summoner's Pact? Not much, in my opinion. Like, is it better? In some situations, sure. Summoner's Pact, you could play, like, I can tell you as a control, like a person who plays with counter spells, if someone plays Summoner's Pact, they don't spend any mana. But I gotta counter this thing, because the Primeval Titan might not be counterable. Whereas with Green Sun Zenith, I can counter that. Not only that, they gotta spend 7 mana to try to put a Primeval Titan in play. So that is more of a liability than the Summoner's Pact is. They can also play, like... Well, anyway, I think Summoner's Pact and Green Sun Zenith are very interchangeable, and I really don't see that much big of a deal to play Green Sun Zenith more than you're going to be playing Summoner's Pact. Like, of course, you can spend 4 mana, go get, like, a Dryad of the Elysian Grove. But you know what? Honestly, I saw a lot of Amulet players packed for Dryad of the Elysian Grove anyway, and it's also cheaper. So this, you pay 0 mana, you play your Dryad for 3. Green Sun Zenith, you got to pay 4. So this does cost 1 more mana. Amulet Titan is still super strong. Yeah, of course, it's super strong. And now, like, Green Sun Zenith originally was, like, on the ban because, oh, it freely can go get Dryad Arbor. Well, Dryad Arbor dies to Bowmasters. I don't even know if it's even that big of a deal. Green Sun Zenith got banned because you can pay one for Dried Arbor, and Green Sun Zenith is any creature in your deck, not because of prime time anyway. Yeah, but like honestly, that was never a big deal. Never. I honestly don't think at any point in modern history that the Green Sun Zenith into Dried Arbor combo mattered. In my opinion, I think Modern was always too powerful for that interaction. It's just a crappy mana dork like any other crappy mana dork in the game. And if you want to tutor, we had so many tutors in this game between like Birthing Pod and Summoner's Pact and Court of Calling. There's a lot of tutors that tutor directly into the game. This is tutoring at sorcery speed. One shot, one time. I think all the other tutors were better at every point of Modern's history. It's not even clear that this is going to replace things like Court of Calling and other decks, because you still have to pay actual mana for this thing. They be ramping out the ass anyways. You're paying 1 for 1, not even that good. It's 1 for 1? What do you mean? Green Sun Zenith was never ban worthy. Well, in my opinion as well. So, now is it going to see play? Probably. Apparently the Amulet players, they're really excited about this card. And good for them. They get to absorb every single broken card that gets to abuse a lot of mana. T. Corellis, thanks so much for your super chat. Do you think Mox being unbanned is also a problem in regards? It kind of forces a sideboard shift where decks have to run cards just for it. Maybe, maybe not. Like, we don't know if you... We'll see what it looks like in the end. What kind of decks are made, what is built, because maybe the pitch spells as we have them right now is going to be good enough. But frankly, you know, it's been a while since we've needed dedicated hate for a certain archetype. I would say right now, people are somewhat dedicated to playing cards versus colorless, like the Eldrazi or Belcher decks. So there's a lot of consigned to memories in people's sideboards, which does have some splash damage versus these new artifact decks. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's how it was it's how it was in the past. The artifact decks are super popular. You had to play your Stony Silence. These days, you got your Collector Roof. You got your Force of Vigor. You have, I guess you have Meltdown now. So there is a wider range of options to deal with these artifacts. It's the artifact deck menace. Mox Unbanned is a huge issue. Also scares me about Mana Crypt. Well, we don't have Mana Crypt. You mean Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus unban in Commander? Who knows? They could do anything in Commander. They could do absolutely anything. Mox Opal is about to be reprinted as a chase card. Ooh, that would be interesting. You know what? They're like super short in supply. Everyone's going to want Mox Opals. It probably is going to be the most expensive card in Modern by like a huge margin. If Mox Opal gets reprinted in the very near term, this was probably planned a long time ago. At least for the sake of Mox Opal, it was probably planned like it was probably planned 2 years ago, because that's usually the time frame between them having an idea and it getting out to print, somewhere between 2 and 3 years. But when it comes to reprints, usually 2 years. If they actually design a card from scratch, usually 3 years. Okay. But Green Sun Zenith is not the only card. And I don't know, I'd be very curious to see if it breaks anything. We have a lot of tutors that effectively tutor things in play. I'm not really concerned for Green Sun Zenith. It's not a card, it's a card that sees play in Legacy, but it's not a card that breaks Legacy in any way. Okay, we also have Faithless Looting. Okay, this is sort of in lines with Mox Opal in that, what the hell are they doing? This Faithless Looting has basically one purpose, and that is to create really super fast broken starts, generally using the graveyard. The 1 red sorcery, draw 2 cards, and then discard 2 cards. Like, the archetypes that Faithless Looting was built around were things like Hollow One, which is a little bit of a jank strategy, but it was a super explosive strategy, where you've discarded a few cards, and then this hollow one is free, and you can just put a bunch of 4/4s and play for nothing. Is that too powerful for Modern? Maybe now, not really. I mean, we dealt with Crashing Footfalls, right? And that was sort of dealable. What else do we have with Faithless Looting? Phoenix, Arclight Phoenix in multiple forms could come back. The Flying Haster at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you've cast 3 or more instant and sorcery spells this turn, return Arclight Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. Both mono red and blue red, and maybe some like new versions. There could be black red at this point. We don't know. There could be definitely many different combinations of Arclight Phoenix. It's a whole new card pool. And not to mention, you gotta remember, like, all these old archetypes can adopt all the new cards of today. They have access to all the Modern Horizon cards that they never had access to in the past. I think Wizards did this to get a lot of older players, me included. I started playing during Khans of Tarkir. I haven't been interested in the format for like 2 years. Oh, they're going to give you all the old cards, huh? So question, Jerry, what if all the old cards don't work the way you want them to? It feels like to balance out energy, they're giving Mox, Opal, and Faithless Looting to combat it, because these are all degenerate strategies. They were banned because all it created were these degenerate turn 2 wins, or like effectively getting onto the board so far ahead of your opponents that you were basically winning by turn 2. That's my like biggest issue with these unbans. So Faithless Looting, well, I guess, do you know what? It's sort of sickening to be playing against one super fast aggro deck. So why can't we have more? We're going to have like a variety of artifact aggro decks, and we're also going to have a variety of Faithless Looting aggro decks. What else was there? Yeah, there's Dredge here on Stinkweed Imp. Now, between Arclight Phoenix, the Phoenix decks, and also the Dredge decks, they are the most likely to be kept in check because of the new graveyard hate, like Endurance. So if you go for a big turn, you'd be like, go play Endurance, which may or may not work. I don't know. The Phoenix deck might have access to Subtlety. The Dredge deck may have access to nothing. They will just fold to it easily. And then just say, thank you very much. Benovsky, what is this show about? If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the latest BNR announcement where they banned 3 cards from Modern and unbanned 4 of them, with 3 of them being super big classics to the Modern card pool. Henrik says, bought a Pure Steel Paladin last week for the lulz, and now the store wants to buy it back for way more expensive. Excellent. You're going to... Or, it's either that. You either make money from your Pure Steel Paladin, or you got to buy some 4 Mox Opals and make an actual deck out of the damn thing. Thought is going to make a comeback too with the Flare of Denial. That's possible. Flare of Denial. Yeah, so like, it's scary to think about. Okay, let's get to the last one. What is the last card unbanned? Splinter Twin! What is going on here? It's back! The 4-man enchantment that combos with, what's it called? Deceiver, Exarch, and Pestermite. Now, if there's one combo deck that looks like it would be safe in 2024, it would appear to mostly be Splinter Twin, because there are more ways to either out-aggro the Splinter Twin, either through big mana, whether it be Tron, whether it be Eldrazi, or even aggro them with energy. There's also the fact that there are a lot of ways of interacting with Twin now, between Solitude, Force of Vigor, what else do we have? Pestermite is not a clean combo card because it has 1 toughness. It has to compete with Bowmasters now. Like, this is still a serious card in Magic, and it's gonna still snipe. It's still gonna soft lock a lot of the 1 toughness creatures down. So this is not a clean combo card. So they're gonna have to depend more on the Deceiver Exarch side, unless they want to adopt like a second color and maybe have a different combo card. Padmo says, I guess they decide if every deck has a super broken degenerate card, no one will be super broken. I guess now we're just Legacy. The whole turn 3 thing, that's just thrown out the window. We don't need that anymore. We're no longer a turn 3 format or turn 4 format, however you want to frame it. This is all hell breaks loose. Do whatever. I guess what was most memorable to people is killing people helplessly and having no agency in the format. So anyway, I think it's just gonna. This is going to be a really weird 4 months of people just going completely wild. And I really hope that it balances itself out. I'm surprised they didn't even unban Uro. You know, we have all these cards. These are such absolute heavy hitters. These are super weights of the modern ban list. Splinter Twin. Faithless Looting. Not Green Sun Zenith. I think that one's okay. Mox Opal. How is Uro still on the banned list? Uro's probably nothing at this point. Yeah, like unbanned Grave Troll basically at this point. We might have more than enough resources to deal with a legacy-powered dredge deck by now. Yeah, Bowmasters not being banned surprises me, or at least on their radar, so to speak. It doesn't surprise me. They don't care. If Bowmasters is going to stick around for an eternity. No, they even complain about it in Legacy, and they're just, nope, it's going to stay. I have a feeling this is because they are going to push the power level of the 1 toughness creatures in the future, even at the expense of all current 1 toughness creatures that exist right now. Okay, we're going to talk more about, we're going to go even deeper, and we're going to talk and have a nice fun discussion about all these bans and unbans, but we got to thank our sponsor today. FusionGamingOnline.com, my favorite local game store, the place I buy all my Magic the Gathering cards, and I get my deck boxes and sleeves. Is there a deal of the week this week? You have Magic the Gathering. You know what? You wouldn't need these new cards. They just unbanned Splinter Twin. You need Splinter Twins. You go check out FusionGamingOnline.com. Check them out for Mox Opals. What else do we have here? Faithless Looting and Green Sun Zenith. And by the way, when you do that, don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu at checkout for 5% off all your purchases. And what a better time to brew than ever before with Mana Traders when you're playtesting Magic on Magic Online, the digital format. And with Mana Traders, you can rent any card you want, as many cards as you want. Well, you can rent within your rental limit, but you have access to the entire card pool to playtest to your heart's content. And there's going to be tons of streamers playtesting new decks. You want to be in on them, you got to be renting with Mana Traders. You can support the channel by using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 40% cash back on your 3rd month subscription by using coupon code Nikachu_X1A. Okay, back to the craziness this is. Unbelievable. So the unbanned Splinter Twin. Now, these aren't the only twin combos. Like, twin can combo with a lot of different cards. I heard they're also using what's called... twin might be able to adopt FOMO. Fear of missing out. Like, twin can adopt all sorts of new crap right now. So this 2-mana 2/3. When it enters, discard a card and draw a card. So it's giving you a little bit of a cantrip. And then Delirium, when fear of missing out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyards, untap target creature. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Actually, how does that combo? That combos at all. It got a 5/0 with energy and FOMO. Oh, combined? That's wild. Yeah, I'm renting decks for the tournaments now. You bet. Yeah, you got to do it. Be prepared. Sean says, I got my first cards in Revised or something that like that, but learned to play just before Onslaught. Oh, wow. You're a late bloomer. Revised, that was like 10 years. That was a 10-year difference. See you later, Hunter. So there's going to be a lot of brewing. If I were to take a wild guess, the most impactful cards, I mean, it could be Splinter Twin. People are going to forget, or people are going to relearn what it's like to be tapping out or near be tapping out on turn 3. When you're on the draw versus Splinter Twin, it big suck. Okay, it sucks. Because if you tap out, you could be dead. Not to mention, I imagine the Splinter Twin deck, they have access to new cards. They can play what Flare of Denial, right? So they still have access to cards that we have. Like, they could have a Snapcaster Mage on the battlefield And then when they go for the combo, you might interact with the combo, but they're like, Flare of Denial. I actually counter your counter. What else can they have? They could play Teferi, Time Raveler, if they really wanted to. I don't know if they would go this route, Vexing Bauble. It's possible. There's maybe another version of like Twin where you go with Vexing Bauble and then no free cards are available. This seems like a silly card. This just got banned in Legacy. It got restricted in Vintage. If we are going to depend on the free spells in order to interact with the degenerate decks, wouldn't it make sense actually to ban Vexing Bauble? Maybe they don't want to do it in advance, but it seems like this is going to be a pretty big problem going into the future for any deck that's trying to protect themselves from the free mana cards. Okay, untap FOMO, make a copy, attack, untap the original. Oh, you Splinter Twin the Fear of Missing Out. Attack, untap the original, then repeat. I see, cool. Yeah, you attack, you keep untapping the original, you keep going after it over and over and over again. So we have like a 2-mana version. Now, mind you, remember with Splinter Twin, there's even more answers than there were before. There was Fatal Push at the time that Splinter Twin got banned. It didn't last very long. Like we didn't even get to see how big of a difference Fatal Push was going to have on the Twin deck before it kicked the bucket. But then there was also we now have Ley Line Binding to interact with the combo. We have Galvanic Discharge. So there's more answers for 1 mana than ever before, and in addition to that, we have 2 mana answers for these cards. Pavno says, it's a shame Green Sun Zenith only tutors green creatures. Wow, what do you want it to do? You want to tutor anything? Otherwise, you could use it in Simic Merfolk to grab blue ETB. Oh, God. So, yes, we can only dream. You can go grab green Merfolk. Their green Merfolk exist. Toilet Duck. I still think they should print the alchemy card Fear of Change as a real card. Fear of Change. 2 mana, 2/3. When this creature enters or dies, exile another creature you control. If you do, conjure a duplicate of a random creature card. Oh God, this is impossible. This is no, never. Jerry, Benjamin Berkeley, you started playing with the original release of the Fetch Lands. Oh, you're talking about someone in chat. Why isn't Vexing banned in Vintage? It's restricted. The reason is they almost never ban anything in Vintage. That is just the rule. It is Vintage. You have access to the entire history of Magic the Gathering. Is Burn viable now? Probably not. I would bet that Phage, assuming Phage still sees a lot of play. Flage, sorry. Flage. I get them mixed up all the time. I would assume so long as this card is a big player in Modern, whether it's in the energy decks or control decks or Faithless Looting decks are now going to play this card. Well, you better believe Faithless Looting plus Flage, that is a combo. You can discard your Flage and then escape it even faster than ever before. Your graveyard is going to be filling up thanks to Faithless Looting. So long as Flage, I think, is a big presence in Modern, Burn is going to be having a tough time. But hey, you never know. You really never know. It's possible other Faithless Looting decks are going to be more popular. It's possible that Affinity style decks are going to be more popular. I don't know how much that helps or hurts Burn, but we could see how the metagame shakes out. Hot take, Unbanned Glimpse. It's possible. You know what? They made mention that Green Sun Zenith was supposed to help elves. That is just astonishingly ridiculous. If you wanted to help elves, probably you had to unban Glimpse. Glimpse of Nature. Like, there's no other card that's going to help them. Whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. And you might as well give it to them. Like, I mean, there's nothing else you can do. Would it go off on turn 2? Probably. But all these other cards are, like, all the Faithless Looting and Mox Opal decks will also be planning to go off on turn 2. So I don't know how this is going to be such a big different deal. Should we be brewing Green Sun Zenith in Fish? No. Wait, it's like 3 mana to go to get a 2/2. That's terrible. That's a very bad rate. It's too clunky for our taste. So, I mean, the thing about the elves is all the elves have 1 toughness, and they didn't print any useful new elves for the era of today. Remember, Bowmasters. This card is going to make sure that elves has a really, really, really bad time. Feels like orcs killed the X1s anyway. Yeah, I mean, this Green Sun Zenith is above and beyond too late to the party to help elves. If they wanted to help elves, they should have unbanned this 10 years ago. And even then, that probably wasn't going to be like a huge... Oh, it probably would have been a help, actually. 10 years ago, I could see it helping elves. Now it's just too late. They either need to ban a lot of the 1 toughness pingers, which I just don't think they're going to do. That's just not going to happen. Or they need to power creep up the elves. The elves need new support, new 2 toughness creatures that are going to make a big deal to compete with all this stupid pinging crap. Also, if Twin is playing FOMO, they might as well play Fable. Well, you got to make sure you're not going to water down your strategy. You need some abundance of counter spells and removal spells, and Fable doesn't do that. But maybe... I mean, one advantage to playing with Fable the Mirror Breaker is that it forces you to compete with it. I mean, you can't just ignore this damn 2/2 Goblin Shaman that incrementally gives you more mana and also digs for your combo pieces. And then you have like literally like a splinter. You have Kiki Jiki on the board at the end of it. So I mean that maybe that's going to be stock. They play this, and then, you know, we are starting to tap out to compete with this, and then they twin and kill you. That's it. I think the real power of Green Sun Zenith is that it turns 1 sideboard copy of, say, Oof into 5 copies. It could, but that's still slow. Like, turn 3 Oof, you might be, like, very close to dead versus on the draw, for example, versus an artifact deck, like a really powerful artifact deck. Henrik says, I say let the elves burn. I swear I'm not a goblin. Benjamin says, when I played Type 1 and Type 2 and Extended were a thing. Kiki was broken and is still broken. Are you talking about Kiki Jiki? Kiki Jiki was always like a fair card in Modern. Like, it was like a jank combo piece. Obviously, it wasn't enough to keep the Splinter Twin combo alive, or at least the people who are competitive didn't want to play it for that reason. Fable is a different deal, though. Fable sees play in every format. It sees play in Legacy, for crying out loud. You can ramp out a turn 2 Fable, no problem, with a Soul Land. Actually, you can have turn 1. Between like a Simian Spirit Guide and a Soul Land, you can have Fable of the Mirror Breaker out on turn 1. You start gaining mana and start attacking. So this is a multi-format all-star. Would not be surprised if Twin wanted to approach this card. I'm still sad Death and Taxes is dead. Well, I mean, someone's got to build it, you know? Someone's got to build it. I will say, I think formats are healthier when Thalia is legal or playable. I think when Thalia Garden of Thraben is playable, format is healthy. Unfortunately, 1 toughness creature. So we just gotta pay our respects to Thalia. Thank you so much for all the years that you put in for us, Thalia. But like now, Ren and 6, Bowmasters, Yawgmoth, Lava Dart, Fire and Ice. It's too much. Though, to be honest, I think the 2 most heinous ones out of all of them were Bowmasters and Ren and 6. At this point, why not play rock, paper, scissors? People like that sort of crap. You know, honestly, people love rock, paper, scissors. So it's better because it's better than scissors just destroying the metagame. You know, the metagame, like the winner's metagame is 80% scissors, 15% rock, and 5% paper. That's not a good metagame. They like it when it's basically, it's even all around. Fruit Kid, almost got a 5-0 down, but I'm all in playing Flood Pits and Trickster because there is so much aggro on the leagues. I have a feeling that is not going to be enough whatsoever. Benovsky, Paper Tiger, Scissor Lizard, and Rock Lobster. Playing rock, paper, scissors is like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering very often has been in that spot. But anyway, I am hoping that instead of, if there's going to be one good thing out of all this, that energy is no longer going to be 35% of the metagame, and hopefully it's taken down by a huge chunk, and at least it's now going to be a variety of stupidly aggro decks that maybe we can't deal with energy, but the other aggro decks can beat the energy deck, and then we can beat the other aggro decks. We can bring in the artifact hate to beat the artifact decks. We can bring in the graveyard hate to beat the faithless looting decks. Now, there is one problem out of all this. Very often, when artifact decks are out of control, you have to dedicate a lot of sideboard cards for the artifact decks. But if there are both artifact and graveyard decks, and you need to deal with both of them, you usually don't have enough sideboard slots for both, which can make a little bit of a game between, like, okay, which archetype do you want to prepare for on what weekend that you play your deck? Bob Anderson's like, what's happening? Okay, long story short, you want the long story short? In Modern, the One Rings banned, Amped Raptors banned, Gigantha's banned, but the unbanned Mox Opal. The unbanned Green Sun Zenith. The unbanned Faithless Looting. And the unbanned Splinter Twin. It's like in the guide I was talking about, speed is not good for us, and these decks got super sped up. Yeah, but things like Trickster just slow them down a little bit. You need something that turns the corner. You know, slowing down, you have to either have to lock them out, or you have something really, I mean, maybe if you can turn the corner, it's good. Yu-Gi-Oh! Being solitaire is a stereotype. Hand traps make it actually playable. No, and you know what makes it playable? I learned this about Yu-Gi-Oh! In Yu-Gi-Oh! They've got a rule. If you go first, you can't win the game. Nope, you're not allowed. You can have a big hand, but then you just have to stop, and then you have to win on your following turn. But if you're on the draw, so I think, you know, it's if you are on the play and you went first, you can't win the game. And I believe that if you're on the draw for your first turn, you can attempt to win the game. Very funny rules. Okay, so Splinter Twin very likely has a lot of answers to this archetype. Not so clear. This is the biggest problem will be your resources getting choked up big time because of Faithless Looting graveyard decks and trying to deal with Mox Opal decks. And then, you know, there is an outside chance that, I don't know, Amulet becomes tier 0. That's possible. I'm not particularly that scared for that outcome. Amulet now has more problems than, I wouldn't say more problems than ever before, but between Harbinger of the Seas and the Blood Moon effects, there is more heinous cards to sort of rain on their parade. Although maybe they'll have a process of playing with more basic lands that can use Green Sun Zenith and then tutor something in play. So all that red mana that they have in play, it's not that big of a deal because they got Green Sun Zenith. So maybe this is actually going to be a way to play around the Harbinger of the Seas, play around the Blood Moons and Magus of the Moons. Hendrik says you can't win the game, but you can set up Chalice, discard the opponent's cards, flip an Arreo, basically the same. What do you mean? Oh yeah, I forgot. There was a pretty neat. I saw a deck list. Now that we have Faithless Looting back, there's Tamiyo. Remember Tamiyo? The blue Tamiyo? Well, now it's going to be easier than ever to flip this damn thing, like, almost immediately. So you play Tamiyo turn 1, turn 2, you draw a card. Then you play Faithless Looting. You're going to draw 2 cards. When you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile Tamiyo and just put it right back onto the battlefield. You mean turn 2 Planeswalker at 4 loyalty. Until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets -1/-0. That interact, I'm honestly not looking forward to that at all. And it's not too far away from hitting -7. Draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, rounded up. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. That is going to be absolutely brutal to deal with on the draw. You're going to be so far behind this thing. This is faster than Oko. Remember what Oko did to the metagame. It was terrible. Okay, Xavion says, as a legacy player where Brainstorm easily flips Tameo, a flip Tameo early on is very spooky. Yes, we should all be very scared of the new interactions that we see with Tameo. Now, it's also possible that this is all just garbage. Like, one of these things are going to be way more powerful than the other. It could be, when Modern Horizons 3 came out, there were many degenerate strategies with, like, Necro Dominance, for example. Does everyone remember Necro Dominance? I sure did, and it just completely crushed me. But it's just so weak to... energy just basically suffocated this card out of the metagame. What else was there? So all I'm just alluding to is that it's possible one of these are going to be a champion, and then maybe it is so much better than the others that it becomes like a new energy deck. That is a possible outcome as well. That's right. That's broken. I'm sure in reference to the turn 2 Tameo. Yeah, this looks awful. Playing against this on turn 2. And how do you get rid of it? Like, not many decks can get rid of a Planeswalker on turn 2. Very, very, very limited. When is the BNR effective? Immediately. Today. You can play this new modern metagame on Magic Online today. At least you at least don't have to deal with Brainstorm letting you flip Tameo for 1 mana at instant speed. No, that's true, but I mean, it's still Tameo still flips one way or another. Is Dominance just a retrain of Potence? Yeah, it's the exact same thing. It's Necropotence, but your maximum hand size is 5 instead of 7. Which in my opinion doesn't even change very much. I don't know why Wizards wants to reprint cards that are straight up busted, like cards that are already banned. Fixing banned designs I don't see how that's fun. Every single time I lose to Necropotence, it's not really fun. You know, my opponent has 18 life and plays Necropotence and then draws like 6 cards. Not really a fun game, in my opinion. In my opinion. Very, very silly card design. So, like, the moment this card is good, it'll be way too good. Does Dominance cancel Reliquary Tower? It's a timestamp thing, so you can play Reliquary Tower afterwards, although it might not be necessary. I believe it's a timestamp thing. Don't hold it to me. Don't play it in a tournament and the judge tells you otherwise. Oh, T. Krellis, great question. Hollowed One or Vengevine? So we have Hollowed One. This is, oops, Hollow One. There we go. We have Hollow One. Repeatable, make it better. So Hollow One, that is one of the Faithless looting strategies, but the other one is Vengevine. Totally forgot about this bad boy. This card always peeks its head up when there is a new graveyard-based deck that can be broken. And with the return of Faithless Looting, I would not be surprised that Vengevine is going to have a new archetype or a new shell that it can go into. It's a 4-mana, 4/3 haste. When you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell you've cast this turn, you may return Vengevine from your graveyard to the battlefield. And with it, it's got haste! And it smashes you for a good chunk of damage. So, would not be surprised if Vengevine makes a resurgence. It's really cool for the players that like them when they get it right. The problem is getting a retrain balance right is really hard. Like, do you remember Memory Vessel? Oh, I don't know. You guys must be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh or something. So Vengevine, it's just going to come down to playtesting to see what is better or what is more popular, what's going to get more results. One or the other is possible. It could be neither. There is one, like Vengevine's going to be less broken today because of the graveyard hate, because of the endurance. Hollow One might be a little bit more durable because there's no immediate I mean, I think the only hate card for Hollow One is Force of Vigor. And another problem is you may not want to keep forces versus this type of deck, because this might be the only artifact that they play. Like Hollow One plays all sorts of different creatures, but they play actual creatures, like non-artifact creatures. So trying to break up like a Hollow One deck may not be so easy. Maybe the Hollow One deck is going to be way more resistant to hate cards. Benjamin is good in Baghdad. Oh, well, what, in Vintage? Oh, yeah, in Vintage. When you have access to Bazaar of Baghdad, sure, anything can happen. How was the tournament? Did you win? I won some games. You could say that. Overall, I did not win. Remembering an old underpowered card, Magic doesn't do as much retrains, though. Are you talking about... Are you talking about like how they reprinted Necropotence as Necro Dominance? Retrain is a Yu-Gi-Oh term, though, for remaking an old busted card. Oh, Memory Vessel was a Memory Jar remake from earlier this year. So sometimes they do it well, but the what's it called? Where is Necro Dominance is just the same card, except instead of your hand size being 7, it's now 5. Is that significant in my opinion? No. No, I don't think it's that significant. It does make me wonder, is Necropotence like not broken enough anymore? Could they actually unban that card? Because this card is completely free to be played in Legacy and no one wants to. In my opinion, having 5 cards in your hand is an absolute banger. Just empty your hand and refill for 5 cards. 5 life, no problem. Pabno says, I think there's an aspect of pride. They messed up before and won't want to try it again to see if they can make it work. No, that's not true. Pabno, the people who made Necropotence, that was 20 years ago. That was a completely different team of people. Nobody cares. It's just, the people who designed Necro Dominance, they played with Necropotence. They feel nostalgia for Necropotence. They want to bring that effect and feeling back to people today. The people who designed Necropotence and Necrodominance, I don't think are the same people. It was like 25. I think it's a difference of 20 to 25 years in difference, or longer. Whenever Ice Age came out, I have no idea. They need to clean up Vintage big time. Well, that's not what they do. Vintage just gets restrictions, no bannings. Bob asks, with the unbanning of Splinter Twin, what stops Brian Braun-Duin's deck from resurfacing? Nothing. You mean like the Thrag Tusk one? The Teamer one with Thrag Tusk? Nothing stopping it. Is it going to be as good today as it was 15 or I should say 10 years ago? Probably not. Very likely all the twin decks are going to need to utilize the cards of today in order to compete. David says, did you talk about Psychic Frog? I just got here. Psychic Frog is still perfectly legal. This card did not get banned in Modern. Modern is a format of removal spells, a lot of removal spells, and Psychic Frog just has... And Psychic Frog really can't be protected in Modern like it can be in Legacy. It did, by the way, get banned in Legacy because of Daze. You know, honestly, if you ask me, Daze is the real problem. But, you know, people want to hold on to Daze. And don't get me wrong, Psychic Frog is a super powerful card. But between being able to protect it with Daze and the fact that it snowballs out of control, they banned the damn thing. Psychic Frog is gone. It's a goner. Yeah, I'm mostly only talking about Modern. I mean, you know what? We mostly talked about all the Modern stuff. You have some questions about Legacy. That's totally fine. I believe, like... I don't want to say for certain, but I want to say like 100% of Legacy players wanted Psychic Frog banned in Legacy. And top of that, they wanted it banned last BNR. And I really feel for the Legacy players. Like, they're pretty unanimous. They're very influential to the rest of Legacy. The Legacy metagame mimics the paper metagame pretty well. They should just listen to them up front immediately. When Grief is too much of a problem, ban the damn thing. When Psychic Frog is clearly too good, even after like a month of playtesting with it, ban the damn thing. I mean, this is not a official Wizards of the Coast supported format. Listen to the community and just do what they say, do what they want. We have very good, smart stewards of the game, I think, in Legacy. And I think it's totally fine to take their advice. They saw it coming a mile away. Why is Magic the Gathering, or specifically Modern and Legacy, why are these formats where we're waiting for these formats to get good? Why are we waiting for them to like get rid of the feel bad crappy cards? It's basically what these formats have been for the last 2 years. There's a problem, they're like, nah, you just suck it up and deal with it for another season. Okay, now by the time you ban it, there's a new problem that spurred up the last set that was just released. Surefire Cells, when Necrodominance was released, my Shieldred post-traumatic stress syndrome resurfaced from the dark crevices of my mind. You know, it's funny, with all these unbans, I'm surprised they didn't unban Hogak. Pretty sure Hogak actually would be fine in today's environment. David Sampson, I bought one for EDH for $8-ish bucks. If I could have just waited just a little longer, I would have saved $3. Why? I mean, I could be wrong. It would appear that you could buy it for $6 now. I could be wrong, but I don't see how the banning of this card in Legacy should have such a material effect on the price when this card sees most of its play in Modern. I could be wrong, though. Maybe Paper Legacy is more popular than I think. T. Corellis, with Faithless unbanned, what was the go-to red draw discard before the unbanning? Was Demand Answers played? Sorry, don't know. Don't play Modern anymore. So the main decks that played Faithless Looting were Hogak. Hogak was number 1. And frankly, Hogak did get banned first. And then Faithless... No, hold on. I can't remember. Maybe Hogak went with Faithless Looting at the same time. I'm not remembering things very well. Then there was 2 Phoenix decks. There was the blue-red Phoenix deck, and there's also a mono-red Phoenix deck that played with a bunch of prowess creatures and Lava Dart and went face. And Faithless Looting was pretty good, or very, very, very strong in both those decks. They went guns blazing. You know what? If they goldfished properly, they could just take you out by turn 3, like in a huge manner. Okay, what else do we have here? Marcio, that's why I love playing unrestricted vintage after no one has a budget for Black Lotus. Point and Click says they kept Days in Legacy and got rid of Vexing Bauble instead. Oh yeah, well Vexing Bauble. This could end up being just one of the dumbest cards that they've designed. I am pretty sure this was supposed to be an answer to Grief, because there's a 1-mana artifact. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be an answer to Grief, and it's a bad it's not good. It just does not do it, because if you're on the draw, you're still going to get Grief scammed anyway. If you're on the play, it's probably fine. But the problem is, like, Wizards is admitting that we need the pitch spells in order to keep cards like Faithless Looting and Mox Opal in check. Like, that was basically implied in the BNR announcement. Well, this card screws with both of those. Although someone did mention to me in my blurb on Twitter that it might be difficult for Mox Opal decks to play Vexing Bauble, because once you have a Vexing Bauble in play, well, Mox Opal costs no mana, so it's going to get countered. But there's no doubt in my mind that Faithless Looting decks could play with a Vexing Bauble quite comfortably. Really surprised GT didn't get unbanned. That and Deathright. Who knows? Maybe they're on the way. They could be on the way. Pabno, did you already talk about Amped Raptor banning? Yep, Wizards of the Coast finally realized how OP dinosaurs are and decided to rain on us. I mean, I think the main reason Amped Raptor... I mean, they said so. It's an energy producer. So they could have banned a lot of stuff. You know, honestly, if they're going to ban an energy producer, they should have hit the Guide of Souls. So they didn't want to hit Guide of Souls because Guide of Souls is a human and it's a cleric. So in theory, it could go in other decks. Amped Raptor can go in no other deck, so it's only going to hurt energy. I can respect that. And it's an energy producer. So hopefully without Amped Raptor, you know, their Galvanic discharge is going to be for a little bit less. Their, what is it, the Prison? Can't remember, their white removal enchantment. Maybe they won't be able to pay for that damn thing. It's possible. Benjamin, if Wizards actually playtested the cards like they claim they do, we wouldn't have all these bannings. Honestly, it's impossible to playtest this stuff. It's just they don't know. They're designing cards like 2 years in the past. They have no idea what Modern looks like in the future. We have no idea what this looks like right now. We have no idea. They have no clue. So, I mean, I'm not going to blame them. There's no amount of hardcore playtesting they could do. I also think, for example, the Energy deck was playtested when Fury existed. So they didn't expect Fury to get banned. If anything else, you know, I'm open to Fury being unbanned so it can, like, deal with all this other stupid garbage in the game. Even though I think Fury is a pretty heinous card by itself. I'm willing to make an alliance with Fury. Where is that card? Look, Fury, I'm willing to make a deal. You get unbanned and you blow away all these stupid aggro decks, particularly the Energy deck. What's the new Modern deck with the new bannings? We have no idea. We're gonna wait. In fact, I don't even feel like playtesting Modern right now. I feel like waiting like at least 2 weeks for people to make results, and we'll figure something out. There's gonna be a lot of decks. I'm hoping. I'm very optimistic. I hope that it's going to be a very nice, diverse metagame, but it might not. It might be like there's this one artifact deck that's above and beyond more powerful than everything else and just crushes everyone. It's also possible there's going to be this one Faithless Looting deck that's above and beyond better than everything else and crushes everyone. It could be Energy playing Splinter Twin. Wouldn't it? That would be insane. That would be so crazy. If Energy can adopt Splinter Twin, then it would be above and beyond the most dangerous deck ever. Wouldn't they adopt Fury themselves as a red deck? Well, of course. Well, I mean, but it still doesn't... What, you mean like Energy adopting Fury? Probably not, actually. There's only so much you can playtest because MTG is designed to be have infinite possibilities with every card that they release. So no one knows what will happen unless it's like really, really obvious. Yeah, they probably have a general idea, but they don't have a whole hardcore idea what exactly the meta looks like. Pacers fan forever going to be betting on Affinity though. Bets on Affinity. Pacers fan is bullish on Affinity. Lord Magicus, I definitely am waiting on Modern till after Christmas. I mean, I probably will make a few videos just to see how fun it is. I mean, it's going to be different, but it's definitely going to be, at least if you're a reactive deck, if you're a control deck, and I play Merfolk, it'll be completely pointless. You'll have absolutely no idea what to prepare, how to tune your deck. Because the Modern metagame is going to be shaking up like every second. Every day, there'll be a new deck or new tweaked lists. It's going to feel like when Modern Horizons 3 came out. That's exactly what it was like. There's so many different variations of decks and new decks springing up every single day. Which ban/unban surprise upset you the most? I mean, the biggest Faithless Looting and Mox Opal. What is going on here? I have no... That came completely out of left field. These two cards go against everything that Modern's for and what Modern is about. Anyway, it's a nostalgia unbanning as far as I'm concerned. It is like, I don't know, they might as well make a new Horizon set called Nostalgia Horizons and just have all the big old-time all-stars featuring Mox Opal, Deathrite Shaman. We've got Faithless Looting. We're bringing back Birthing Pod, you know? This is basically a nostalgia unban. See how it plays out. Sloth says, why do you think they didn't bother to mention anything about Commander with this announcement? Didn't they take over the format? This is a different BNR. This is the competitive BNR. They're gonna have a separate. I'm not certain, but I think there's a separate BNR for Commander. Or at the very least, when Commander is talked about, there's like a separate committee, separate team of people dealing with this. Maybe the meta is going to be a bunch of Psychic Frog decks. Could be. Could be. Anything is possible. A Tog Affinity with Opal? Very unlikely. A Tog is not strong in Modern. Or at least never was in the past. Is Ravager still banned? What Ravager? Arcbound Ravager? Is there another Ravager I don't know? I mean, Arcbound Ravager was never banned. Not in Modern, anyhow. Not anywhere. Return of Urza Saga Merfolk? Probably not. Probably not. Certainly going to get my Hercules Recall and Graveyard Hate out of my binder, but will you have enough space in your sideboard for all of it? Yeah, the Mox. I think the Mox unban is insane. I just think it is. I think it's straight up bonkers. Is the most likely card. I don't know. You know what? They might just be like, suck it up and play with it. Even if it's a problem, they'd be, you suck it up, Modern players. You just play with it. They are. Wizards is so unresponsive to the Modern community as a whole. Format wildly unbalanced. They don't care. It just doesn't matter. But hopefully, I mean, I guess their idea is to bring back all the old people that used to play with Mox Opal, that used to play with Splinter Twin, that used to play with Faithless Looting. Because but you know what? Honestly, there was nothing wrong with Modern, the performance and attendance of Modern, even after Modern Horizons 2. It's just when Modern Horizons, sorry, not Modern Horizons 3. It was just when the Lord of the Rings set came out into Modern Horizons 3 that the Modern numbers started to collapse and collapse significantly. And like it had nothing to do with banning any of these old-time favorite cards like Mox Opal and Faithless Looting. People still played this game. What's the sets in Modern? 8th edition and afterwards? More or less. It's a lot of sets. No Commander sets, though. Marcio, my Urabras, the great work, will be playing Modern with Faithless Looting back. Yup, I guess so. Faithless Looting in the format gives the Ruby Storm deck a lot more leadway. You would think that, Danny, but probably not. Honestly, the old Storm decks a long time ago, they always had access to Faithless Looting. They just never played it. Because the extra physical card in hand is actually more important. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Faithless Looting is just a free card off of the those exile effects. So they exile cards, you get to play them from exile. Interesting to see what's going to happen. But traditionally, the Faithless Looting was not played in Storm. Maybe Ruby Storm is going to change the dynamic in some way. Fast Mana is very problematic. Mox is pretty wild to unban. I mean, like, they might as well just unban Simian Spirit Guide. Like, what's the difference? It's still, like, a free extra mana, except this one's permanent compared to, like, Simian Spirit Guide. It's pretty wild. It's above and beyond wild. Point and click. ChatGPT has not a clue of a good deck with the bannings. Goes to show how far away AI is. Oh, no, that's... AI can't build a deck for you from scratch out of nowhere. Demanger, I've tried looting a lot on Arena, but besides in Timeless, it's not really that good. It's a build around card. You have to build around Faithless Looting. You need the cards in the graveyard need to be very valuable to you, or discarding cards needs to be very valuable to you. Somehow discarding, either through like the madness mechanic or graveyard synergy, that's where the value of Faithless Looting comes from. And at the very least, by today, I can say pretty confidently there are more ways to deal with the graveyard than ever before. Benjamin says, the reason why I asked Ravager was banned because it got banned in Standard, but not in Modern. Oh, yeah, Standard is a completely different environment. Like, tons of cards get banned in Standard that have no business being banned outside of it. Are slivers banned in Modern? No. You can play as many slivers as you want. It's not a good deck, but it's whatever you want it to be. If Sol Ring is banned, how Mox Opal is not? Well, no, Sol Ring is not legal. Also, Sol Ring is better than Mox Opal, in my opinion. Just went 4-1 and lost to Hammer Time. Oh, yeah, Hammer Time gonna be back. Hammer Time been waiting for that Mox Opal. Hammer Time was really strong even without Mox Opal. They went on quite a long tear for years. They just recently got pushed out of the metagame, I don't know, maybe a year ago? Jonathan says, potentially Mox Opal could be worth nothing on turn 1 and maybe even more turns if your draw is poor. I like that it is unbanned. That is absolutely ridiculous. It is potentially worth nothing if your hand sucks. But we don't judge cards based on like when your hand sucks. We judge cards based on like when you have a reasonable or even good hand. One of the problems with Mox Opal, same thing with Faithless Looting, is that your top tier hands, your top of the curve hands, usually just smash the crap out of your opponents helplessly. You're on the play, you've got the best hand possible, they're dead. And like basically defeats the purpose of playing a game. Like we're trying to play a game of Magic here. So the downside doesn't exactly compensate for the upside. It's not even a high variance card. It's just, it's mostly high power. Your deck is probably going to be filled with a lot of redundant artifacts. And then if you do mold down to 4 cards, then just don't play Mox Opal at all. Play the other cards in your hand. Faithless Looting plus Boros Titan. I don't know. Oh, you mean Flage. Yeah, that's going to be a thing. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Be prepared. Flage is going to be a thing. Faithless Looting. Discard your Flage. That's value. Then you can escape it right back from the graveyard. Okay, that's it. That's my video for today. Or that's the stream for today. Are you excited for the bans and the unbans? What do you think about them? Are you going to be playing with the new cards? You got to let me know in the comments section below. Of course, I do this show 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. If you're a patron on Patreon, a member on YouTube, or you super chat to be part of the show, or even super chat so other people are part of the show. And thank you, of course, my coffee crew for being here today. People like, today we got Jonathan, we got Benjamin, we got Messanian, Fruit Kid, we got Yup. We have a lot of new people. Alexandro, Sloth Mentality, David Sampson, Kano, and Pabno. You guys are the crew. So as usual, my coffee crew. Keep brewing them coffees and keep brewing them decks, especially modern decks. And we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you at the next cup.